So yeah.
Oh. Yeah. Anyway.
But that sucks.
There's still hope. We got the 2 other Deadpool 2 I'm sure will be good, even though Chris doesn't care.
I'm not going to waste my time with that. I'm not even going to waste my time with Avengers Infinity War. I don't give a shit about Avengers.
Yeah, can't do that. Wait, aren't you a big Avengers fan? What was it?
Anything. Comic books. Yes. But I like those movies. But I like DC stuff more. Like Batman and Superman.
Do you want to talk about? So that was all of my my news. So if you want, do you want to talk about what we were talking about earlier with the people are upset that Wonder Woman wasn't nominated?
Oh yeah, they're pretty upset, man. They were really pushing for an Oscar, some type of Oscar nomination.
Did it get anything?
Didn't get anything.
Not even in like costumes, but
no.
What?
Yeah. And so I guess a lot of people are pissed off. I'm not really pissed off because I don't really see it as an Oscar-worthy movie.
No, but the Academy has been making a push to kind of be more inclusive with other types of movies beyond, the standard costume and period pieces that they would normally be going for.
I could see it for like a costume design or something because that's Suicide Squad won 2 years ago for makeup.
Well, the big beef.
Oh.
The big beef was years ago that everyone loved The Dark Knight, and it was so good and so relevant to the times that it kind of transcended the comic book movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone said this should be up for Best Picture. Not only is it a really fantastic movie, but it's also the biggest hit of the year.
Yeah.
This should be what Best Picture is supposed to be, and then it wasn't. And then the year after that is when the Academy expanded to, I think, accept up to 10 nominations for Best Picture to try to be a little bit more inclusive. But I'm kind of surprised that it didn't, since that was very well received and it was a big hit.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Next year, man. Next year.
Weekly Rex.
And now it's time for the weekly recommendations.
You want to start us off again, James?
Sure. My one and only weekly recommendation is for Gone Girl.
Yes.
Okay.
And I didn't know that
Fincher.
Fincher directed that one too. And that movie's pretty awesome. When I saw it, it was crazy. I never saw it in theaters or anything.
She's fucking nuts, isn't it?
But yeah, that movie's insane. It's a mind fuck. It's pretty crazy. Yeah.
It's good. I love the Reznor and Atticus Ross score for it.
Anyone else?
I have some, but you can go first either.
I want to recommend The Post, Steven Spielberg's latest film. That was very, very good. Another movie that's, even though it's not a contemporary movie, it's about the Washington Post publishing the Pentagon Papers in the early 70s. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that story, but it's about freedom of the press, and obviously you hear a lot of news stories about that now because with Trump trying to shut down anybody that's printing negative stories about him or talking negative about him, it's very relevant to what was going on with the Nixon administration in the early 70s. So check that out. I also think it's Steven Spielberg's best movie since Munich, so probably in the last 12 or 13 years.
What has he made since then?
Since Munich? Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
That didn't happen.
Didn't happen.
It's an amazing movie.
War Horse,
Okay.
which was bad.
I didn't see that.
Lincoln, which Daniel Day-Lewis is very good in, but the movie is
It's dry.
boring. It's boring. Bridge of Spies was good. but not as good as I hoped it would be. Didn't even bother with the BFG.
BFG, I've heard, is really good. I haven't seen it.
I heard it was good, but when I saw it, I couldn't get into it.
Oh. Are you excited for Ready Player One?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard that the book is really good. I'm kind of interested to read that, but I'll probably end up watching the movie first.
What about you, James? Ready
I'm
Player
excited for
One?
that.
That seems something up your alley, right? Have you noticed all the cameos in the trailer?
Yeah, there's a whole ton of...
Iron Giant.
yeah, the Iron Giant. They
Chucky.
had Freddy in there. I think... Did you see Jason? Was he in there?
I don't know. I saw the
Too much stuff. I saw,
DeLorean, of course.
Joker and Harley Quinn.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know how that's gonna work, but it looks cool. A solid effort, at least.
Oh yeah, looks awesome. I can't wait for it.
But The Post, going back, I haven't seen it yet.
Watch The Post. Very good.
Is that that's your only one?
I can throw out another one if you want.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Not a new movie, but an old movie. I just watched it again last night. Was Adaptation with Nicolas Cage and Meryl Streep and Chris Cooper, who you guys were talking about in the town last week.
Isn't Meryl Streep going to be in Big Little Lies? I think she is.
A new season? Wasn't that just like a one-off?
No,
Because it was based on the book, right?
but I think it did so well that they're trying to bring it back. But I don't know how that's
It's
gonna work.
just now it becomes a money grab. Okay.
They took a big risk. They didn't think. I think Reese Witherspoon didn't think that people are going to be drawn to it the way that they were at all.
Well, the Big Little Lies was good, but it was based on a book. So now what are they going to do? Because they're past the source material.
Well, think about the Netflix original 13 Reasons Why. They're bringing that back, and I don't even see how that's going to work
She's
either.
gone. She's dead.
Because it's a big hit. So they get a big hit on their hands, and they want to do more, and then it just gets diluted. What do I know?
But they left a lot of open stuff for that show.
Yeah.
I mean, The Handmaid's Tale is doing that too.
That shit was awesome.
The first season was the source material, and now they're going to do a second season. So what are they going to do for a second season? But I want to recommend Adaptation. How many movies has Spike Jonze made? 4? Because he did Being John Malkovich, Adaptation, Where the Wild Things Are, and Her. Those are the 4 that I can name off the top of my head. Did he do any more?
That's the only that I can think of.
Those are all masterpieces.
How was her?
It's
How
great.
was it?
How was it? Yeah.
Oh, it's
It's great,
awesome.
yeah.
It's really good.
Check that out.
Well, tell us a little bit about Adaptation.
Oh God, it's a pretzel of a movie because apparently they really won. There was a book called The Orchid Thief, a non-fiction book about flowers that they wanted to adapt into a movie because it was a huge hit. So they hired Charlie Kaufman, who was the screenwriter behind Being John Malkovich, to adapt it into a movie. But because it's a non-fiction book about flowers, he had no clue how to do that. So he ended up kind of writing this weird movie about his experience trying to adapt this book. And there's like a made-up twin brother that he has who actually received screenwriting credit, so it's pretty funny. Yeah, he has a made-up twin brother, and eventually the story shifts into everything that he thought his twin brother was a hack for writing about, which is, cramming in a love interest and adding action to the story and everything. And it's a really it's a crazy movie to think that this was about someone trying to adapt a non-fiction book. But Nicolas Cage, I don't care what Susie says, is so good in the movie in 2 roles.
No, he has some strong work.
He's
'cause-
very good when he wants to be, but not these days when he's making straight to red box movies.
It's the best ones.
So watch Adaptation if you haven't seen it, and you'll want to get your mind blown.
Cool. I actually watched that for my screenwriting class. Which
That's
is
a crazy movie to watch for a screenwriting class.
yeah. I thought it was awesome. So I agree with you. Watch adaptation. I have two. There are some older movies. The first one is the Dead Girl. It's rated R. It runs 85 minutes. It came out in 2010. It's considered a mystery thriller. It's got a 75 on Rotten.
Nice.
Directed by Karen Moncrief, and it's about a series of separate stories involving the murder of a young woman connects a group of completely unrelated women. Starring Brittany Murphy, Toni Collette, Rose Byrne, James Franco, Marcia Harden, Kerry Washington, and Giovanni Ribisi. So it's pretty much like a star-studded cast.
It's from 2010?
2006.
Okay, I was going to say, 'cause wasn't Brittany Murphy dead by then? By 2010, but if it's from 2006, then...
Let's see that.
That's pretty,
It's still a touchy subject.
yeah. She's actually the victim in what the movie's based. She's the dead girl, which is kind of a taboo thing. That's kind of fucked up because she's murdered in this movie, but it's really good nonetheless. It kind of feels like Crash, but I think it's a better effort than Crash. Have you guys seen that one?
I think Crash.
You're talking the movie with Terrence Howard and Matt Dillon? Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, it plays out like that, but it's a lot more intimate and pretty kind of moving. So you guys should check it out if you can find it. Yeah, it's called The Dead Girl.
Dead Girl. Check it out.
My next one is a foreign film called The Orphanage.
Orphanage is good.
Yeah. It's rated R. It's from 2007. It's a horror drama. Runs 1 hour and 45 minutes. It's got an 87 on Rotten. It's presented by Guillermo del Toro and directed by J.A. Boyana.
He directed a great movie last year in 2016 called When a Monster Calls.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Did you watch that?
I did.
Did you see it, James?
I haven't seen it.
It's definitely like a smaller release. It did get released in theaters, but I don't think a lot of people knew about it.
No.
It doesn't sound familiar, that's why.
And I think it actually got pushed back. I think it was supposed to open up in the fall and actually opened up at Christmas time. It's superb. It was one of my favorite movies last year, but very, very emotional.
Orphanage is about a middle-aged woman. She decides to buy the orphanage she was raised in shortly after her adopted son vanishes. As some time passes, the boy is never found and is thought to be deceased. The mother then begins to be haunted by spirits who may or may not know about her son. Starring Belin Ruda. And that's my my weekly Rex
Nice.
for this show. So are we all done with that bit then?
I think so. You don't have
Any last words?
Nothing you want to recommend?
Recommend your favorite. What's your favorite Fincher movie?
Fight Club. Come on. It has to be Fight Club.
Why are you talking so low?
That's just my voice.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay. It's Fight Club. It has to be Fight Club. It's always, I don't know why, it's always been my favorite.
Well, you heard her, guys. Go watch Fight Club. I'm sure I hope you've seen Fight Club if you're listening to the show. I mean the people listening.
Well, no, because you hadn't seen Seven.
Yeah, he hadn't seen Seven.
Yeah, that's why I was curious.
If you hadn't seen Fight Club, I would have to retire you. Moving on. I don't know if you guys have any, but I have a couple. Let's do shows, and more shows where we talk about concerts coming up in our area, which is San Diego, California. Anybody have anything interesting that they know coming up?
I have not been on the sites checking to see who was coming.
Okay.
No.
Nothing?
No, sorry.
I don't think so.
No? All right, well, I guess it's up to me. We have a $5 show coming up at the Observatory North Park on... what's the date today?
Today's 25th.
Okay, it's January